I have been given the privilege to introduce my neighbor and my good friend Kathleen. Um, I could probably do 20 minutes on our journey together since Kathleen moved into Antler Drive and became my neighbor. Sometimes when you meet people, you know from the very beginning that they're going to be in your life. And I knew that immediately with Kathleen, and it didn't take but a few days of talking and sharing things to know that we shared more than Antler Drive. Kathleen and I are in a club we didn't want to be in. We have both lost a child. And what I love about Kathleen, among many things, is we talk about our children all the time. I know all about her son, his sports, his love for his brothers and his sister, and we talk as if our children are still here, and that's important to me because I never want to lose that. Her 4 boys, when she moved into our neighborhood, 3 of them were still at home and Clinton was away at college. Those 3 boys, they love me. They call me Aunt Shar. And that's so special to me. I'll just tell you one real quick story, and then I'll let Kathleen come up. Oh, also, Ada, who you all know. Kathleen is her khaki, and she gets so excited. She calls Kathleen khaki because that's what her other grandchildren call her. But a couple years ago, Kathleen called early in the morning, and she was very upset and wanted to know if I could come up on Highway 11 because she had hit a deer. Well, Evan and I got dressed real quick and went up there. She had hit a mammoth of a deer. Her car was so bad. And she was taking Philip to school. And before I got there, one of the volunteer firemen, I think it was, had stopped, and Kathleen said, now this is how comfortable Kathleen is in Dade County. Kathleen said, well, can you take my son to school? And Philip said, can I please just wait for Aunt Shar? She was going to put him in the car with a stranger, but nobody's a stranger in Rising Fawn, as you know. I know Kathleen's story, and she knows mine, and I'm privileged to call her my friend and my neighbor. Thank you.
I told David I sound like Ellie Mae Clampett when I talk. You'd never know I was a school teacher, but I am. But I wanted, before I started, to say, motherhood is a tricky thing, and it's not for everybody. But when I was little, I was talking to a friend of mine. I was at St. Luke's United Methodist Preschool, and we had career day. And everybody was going to talk about what they wanted to be when they grew up. And I got my bag of about 20 Barbies and stuffed animals, and my mother just knew I was going to set them up and say how I was going to be a school teacher just like my mother. And so she was in the audience waiting for me, and I walked out with every one of those Barbies and stuffed animals stuffed up underneath my shirt and had labor and delivered them right there on the stage. I knew I wanted to be a mother and teach. So happened I became a school teacher, but my mother was devastated. And so I knew from then that motherhood was for me. Before I had the boys, my motherhood journey started out April the 10th, 1986, with my daughter, Jennifer Ashley. She was the first grandchild on both sides. She was a joy. I was a very young mother. And I remember looking at her through the windows, at Erlanger, and so proud. And the man behind me said, that is the hairiest baby I've ever seen. And I just boo-hooed, but that was my hairy baby, so I was tickled to death. November 16th, 1989, I gave birth to a 4.5-pound baby boy, Ian Hunter. So he was my first biological son. In 1990, just a year later, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. I shortly got divorced. My son was not even a year old. I was put in the hospital. I had to have a hysterectomy. I had my spleen removed. I had an appendectomy, and I had my gallbladder removed before I was 27. So I was going through cancer treatments, a single mom, and had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So in 1999, I was teaching a boy at Sequoia Vocational School named Matt Collins, and I met his dad. Well, I actually had eyes for his dad, and said I needed some remodeling done. Never had the remodeling done, but I got a husband in the process. So in the year 2000, we were married. I always wanted to have a huge family, and the Barbies didn't hack it for me. So I wanted to have a huge family, and we couldn't have children together. And most people look at shoes on the internet. I looked at children. So all I did was look, these children need a home, and these children need a home. And you can pull up Joseph's, that's one of the first ones. So I found a picture. That's Godfrey, but that's okay. You can show any of them. So that's Godfrey. So I saw, you can flip it, this one. This. So this is the picture I saw online, and those eyes melted me. And I said, Tim, we're getting this boy. Not once did he say, well, that's a black boy, Kathleen. Never. My kids didn't say, nobody noticed. And I said, this is the one we're getting. So I started inquiring on Joseph, and he was in Ghana, West Africa. Well, I had a power of attorney in Ghana that was doing some work for me, and I got an email saying, if you want to get Joseph, you need to hurry. Joseph was from a tribe, and his father had broken a clay pot and gutted all Joseph and his brothers and left them to bleed to death. They were starving, and that was more humane in Ghana than it was to give your children away. So we immediately rushed through paperwork. We flew to Ghana wanting to adopt Joseph, and were greeted at the orphanage gate by 3 little injured boys, and I said, we're getting all of them. And Tim said, no, we're not. And I said, yes, trust me, we are. So Philip was 3. Godfrey was, so you can flip through the pictures of the boys. That's Joseph again. That's Joseph. That's Joseph. Those were the pictures we saw first. That's Godfrey inside of a water barrel. He was having to clean it. They had no running water, so Joseph would carry the water on his head. But did I say that? I guess I did. That's funny. Well, that's Nayela, so I'll get to her in a minute. But anyway, that's okay. So we flew to Ghana and met the 3 boys and had to redo some paperwork because I said, Tim, you need to tell which boy we can't bring home. And when they ran up to Tim and said, Daddy, and rubbed Tim's arms and said, you are furry. And Tim said, that's it, we're getting all of them. So we stayed in Ghana for about a week, went to court, decided we were getting all 3, worked on the adoption to get all 3, and Godfrey's visa was denied. Godfrey got malaria, and because it's not an American-born illness, he could not travel back to the United States. Well, Tim flew back because we had other children here, and I stayed in Ghana by myself with the 3 boys. Godfrey was very ill. Clinton, who I had not met yet, but Clinton's brother passed away from malaria, so malaria was it's very treatable here, but it was a very bad disease. So took Godfrey to get medical treatment, which they did not have. I had to give Godfrey an IV myself. I'm a math teacher. And they gave me a bag of stew with a fish head floating in it and told me to give him soup 3 times a day. And I knew I was in trouble. So I stayed with Godfrey until his malaria was better. His fever went up to 105. And I prayed and prayed every day, please don't let anything happen to Godfrey, and I'm here in Ghana. So eventually I got to bring the boys home, the 3 boys, but while I was there by myself, a 4th boy stayed with me, Clinton, and his mother had hepatitis. Clinton had a twin brother that had just passed from malaria. So when I got back, I brought the 3 boys. Tim picked us up in Atlanta. That was a mission all in itself to get 3 boys that had never been in a car on a 16-hour airplane ride from Atlanta. So that was and Benadryl didn't do the wonders, trust me. So I tried everything, but we got here, and I said, Tim, you're going to kill me. And he said, what? I said, we have to adopt Clinton too. And he laughed, Kathleen, we were going to get 1, we've got 3, we're not getting 4. And I said, I've forged your name on all the paperwork already. And I literally did, and he's still with me. And he said, okay, so we talked to our children, our biological children, talked to the boys, and the next summer, I got on a plane and flew back to Ghana to get Clinton. Well, when I got to Ghana, I had surgery. My doctor said, do not go to Ghana, you just had surgery. If anything, I had my ankle replaced, I broke my ankle. And he said, if anything happens to you, they will cut your leg off. There's no medical care. And I said, I can't leave Clinton. So I flew back to Ghana by myself. Tim stayed here with the boys, and I landed in Ghana and got a cab, or what they call it, a cab. It's just someone's car that says we're a cab, and was going to drive to the village of Teshi, where Clinton was supposed to be waiting for me. Well, partway through the city of Accra, the taxi cab driver got pulled over, and in their native language, Ga, which is tribal, so I couldn't understand it, the police were speaking to the taxi cab driver and asked me, what am I doing here? I could tell that that's what they were saying, and I was trying to explain to them. They wanted my passport and my visa, and they wanted to know why I had been there so many times, and I pulled out my phone so proud and showed them pictures of the boys, and I was immediately arrested for trafficking children. So this was on a Friday. The American Embassy closed on Friday, so I stayed in a Ghanaian village prison with all men Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and was released on Monday. So that was, and Clinton had known my mom was supposed to come get me. So he had left the orphanage to come look for me. So I had to find Clinton before I could do anything else. But to kind of backtrack just a second, I did want to let you know one struggle with motherhood. Before Tim and I left to go to Ghana, I had to make the decision whether I wanted to be a mother or a sister and a niece, because my family called me the night before we left and said, you need to make a choice. You can bring black children into our family, or you can remain part of our family. That was in 2010, and I haven't spoken to my sister, brother, or aunt since. So it's been very sad, because there are times that I would really like to have family, but I tell Phoebe all the time, Phoebe, y'all are the boys' family. They don't have any family. Y'all are it. So it's been very hard, because I thought once they meet him, they'll surely fall in love with him like I did. But that's been a struggle on my mother's heart, because they didn't. And they never met him. They've never seen him do anything. It's been very, very hard. But the boys were doing great. They all 4 were here. They had never attended school before. In Ghana, they did not attend school, because as orphans, you have to pay to go to school, and needless to say, they did not have the funds to go. So Clinton came and started school in the 8th grade, never been in school. Godfred and Joseph had never been in school. They started school in 2nd and 3rd grade, and Philip started in preschool. So they all struggled, but things were doing great. They were very wonderful athletes. Everyone in our community fell in love with them. And then in 2013, my biological son overdosed from fentanyl. That devastated. He went through a short bout with depression, less than 3 months. I found him overdosed in my home with the boys there. And he was in intensive care for 13 days, and I had to remove him from life support. So up until that point, I thought, I rock this mother thing. I have all these kids. I've been a great mother. I'm a soccer coach and baseball coach, and I've gone across the world to bring boys home, and I've even let my family go to be a mom. Well, when my son Ian died, this is Ian, I lost my faith, because why would God take my son when I had done good things? I lost my identity because I was a mother. That's all I knew how to be. And I didn't feel that I was a good mother anymore. And that affected the boys. The boys asked me at one point, do you want to take us back? And I had to think long and hard. And I realized, I'm really mad at God. And people think that I have saved you, but God sent you to me. You have saved me. Because if I did not have those boys, I don't feel that I would be standing here today. They needed me, but I needed them so much more. So I wanted to let you know a little bit about the boys now. Not only that's the boys now. So Clinton, never starting school till 8th grade, has graduated in dietary science and exercise science from the University of Austin Peay. He works in Franklin. Godfred, the one with the little girl, that's not his little girl, that's Clinton's, but they work together as a team. Godfred is a welder and currently in welding school in Knoxville. Joseph is a pro soccer player and lives in Orlando, but he is moving home next week and playing soccer for Trevecca Nazarene University, which is a lot closer, so I will be able to see him. And Philip is a junior at Boyd Buchanan. He is a very active soccer player, very good. He's a football player, and he is the one that lives at home and has caused these gray issues. But I think on a daily basis what I would do without them and what kind of mother I have been and what kind of mother I want to be. And I can look at them and I can watch them play soccer and I can keep their grandkids and I can say, this is who I am. God has let me be a mother for a reason. They might not be all my biological kids, but they're all right here. So this is the picture. This is one of the pictures. Do you have the grandkids? So I am a proud grandparent now. Okay, this is Ian. This is when they very first came, so you see how much they've grown. So that's in the green shirt, starting with him. That's Godfred, Jennifer's husband, Cody. The little one is Philip. Then we have Clinton, Ian, and Joseph. So this is one of my grandchildren that I'm very proud of. This is my daughter's daughter. She is going to be a pistol just like me. Her name is Caroline. This is all three of my grandchildren. And I will tell you that I can say, Jackson, do you notice a difference with Nayela? Jackson's a little boy who I just adore. And he'll say, duh, Khaki, she's got dark eyes. They don't see any difference at all. They think that they adore the boys. That's Jackson and Caroline. Khaki takes them everywhere. But they adore the boys and as much as I do, and they're proud of them. They come to watch them play soccer, and I go to watch the kids play, and they do too. I will tell you a funny story when we first moved to Rising Fawn, because when I brought the boys here, there was a new set of issues. They weren't starving anymore. They had medical care. But whether I saw them as black children or not, everyone else did. So when I first moved to Rising Fawn, it was very different. And Philip said, "Did you move us to the jungle?" I said, no, because we live in the woods and we don't have neighbors right beside us, and it has taken a lot of getting used to, and some people still aren't fans of me having different colored children. But I tell you, I can call, I've mentioned to Diane, anybody in my Rising Fawn area is right on the boys. So anything the boys need, they're there. I did write, Pastor Mike will be glad to know, I'm teaching at a Catholic school now. Did you know that? So I'm teaching, I've retired, can you tell, and I have 3 jobs. So I teach at Chattanooga State, and I teach at Notre Dame High School, and I teach at a place called Village Virtual, but I teach at Notre Dame part-time, and since I've been there, I'm not Catholic, but I am required to go to Mass. So that was very unnerving for me at first, but I sit there and look at the statues almost the entire Mass, and I've started to pray. I didn't do that after my son died. So I did write a prayer for y'all for Mother's Day, and it's my type of prayer. So remember, you can ask Evan, I'm a little different from most. So I wanted to share it with you, and it says, Dear Lord, it's been again a very hectic day with little time to stop and pray. For life's been anything but calm since you called me 7 times to be a mom. Running errands, matching socks, building dreams across city blocks, cooking, cleaning, finding soccer shoes, and anything else that the boys lose. Doing homework, calming fears, giving hugs and wiping tears. I still have a stack of last week's mail to read. Where's the quiet time, God, that I need? Yet when I steal a moment, Lord, at the sink, maybe even the toilet or the ironing board, to ask the blessing of your grace, I see then in my children's face. You have blessed me all the while, and I stop to treasure their precious smile. I am blessed to have each call me mother. It's the best job in the world. I want no other. Please, God, wrap your arms around them, and for each take great care. And please, God, tell my sweet Ian that one day I will soon be there. Happy Mother's Day. So I don't know if in church you ask any questions, but if you would like to ask any questions, you're more than welcome to. I would like to try to bring the boys to church next Sunday. They are in different areas around everywhere, so to try to get them all in one time is very different. But I will try to do that because I would like for you to meet all 4 of them at one time. So I think that they would fill your life with happiness like they have mine. They're goofy and very loving. Is that okay?